the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, specifically with the stock market today. We have a lot to talk about. Now, I think today was a great example. It was a great example of why you need to be patient and why this price action and trade right now is god-awful. Okay, and this is neither bullish nor bearish. This is just giving you a viewpoint of why this is complete garbage. So if we look here, like at the daily, we can still see Dow is in a bull flag at basically previous resistance, now turned support, previous highs here going back to last April. You go to ES, it's not a bull flag, it's not, but we're getting that test of, again, previous highs we had here on ES around 4,500. And then again, we had a false breakdown kind of holding up here on the daily, not a terrible candle as well. Going into NQ, probably the worst looking sector. You're below previous highs, still kind of in that bull flag structure, a little bit extended, kind of gives me the same vibe that we had back here in April, right? So, but why was today terrible, or why was it such a good example of today being terrible? So, giving you a visual, give you a little bit of feedback. I'm going to go into here in a second, but we have CPI on Thursday, which we know, pretty big inflection point of a day. And I think if we're going to get continuation from bulls back to the upside, CPI is the day to do it. Okay, so we look at this action. Now, first we'll start here on Nasdaq, and this line right here represents your previous highs that you had on Nasdaq. Okay, so if we zoom out here for a sec, real quick, we're going to go to the 4 hour. You can see where this level is. Get rid of that too. We had that bear flag drawn out from yesterday. 1, 2, 3 touches of this level, and then you started today and you push down. Okay, now the biggest point here is, so when we're looking at this chart, you know, you're below previous 52-week highs, right? Or yeah, this is your previous 52-week high right there for 15,476, right? Now, if we look here, 1, 2, 3 touches of this level, right? Just kind of a random level makes out underneath that support, which is beyond me, because when you get below this level, you're pretty liquid into like 15.2. Like 15.2 is the next demand that kicks in here on the weekly. And just to mind you why this level is so significant on the weekly, clear-cut weekly demand forming at this level. You can just see it's going to be established there. So a breakdown of this would seems like it would be pretty tough, or you need a pretty big day or some data to do that. Okay, so anyways, so you get that break of that little support down here. You break down and you pop right back up, right? Now, I want to give you a visual. Like if we go back to, you know, trading the upside, why I like trading the upside right now. People are like, well, Tyler, you're missing opportunities on the downside. I am missing. I agree. I am missing downside opportunities to scalp. Okay. There are money-making opportunities. This right here is not a money-making opportunity for me. This is a no trade-off. This is chop. This is trash. Okay. Giving you a visual. When we look at the chart from another perspective, a 1, 2, 3 touch and you break out. When you break out, you basically move from 15.45 into 16,000 in a matter of a week, give or take, 5 days. Just straight up. You just go straight up, okay? Because that's a breakout. Strong momentum kicked in there, right? But if we look at the opposite side of this, the same type of breakout, 1, 2, 3, breakdown, it's not the same type of strength, okay? And what am I saying here? You have to understand how you're trading here. You look at the weekly time frame, you are still in a bullish structure. Whether you like it or not, still in a bullish structure. In order to really flip bearish, you have to break below like 14.3, 14.2 from a technical point of view. That does not mean that you can't make money to the downside. No. I'm just telling you, you're trading against the trend in that case. Once you start making lower lows and lower highs, then it makes sense. But right now, we haven't really done either, okay? You know, then we go into like something like ES, and this is where the picture gets really clear, right? So ES, you look here like the 5 minute, and this line right here represents the previous highs you've had back here as well. You can zoom out so I can show you. See the previous 52-week highs right here, right? You clearly see it. Okay. Now yesterday, perfect balance off that level into today. Now we look. You sit here, you kind of touch it 7 o'clock in the morning, you bounce up at market open, come back down, you know, roughly 10:30 a.m., 2 hours and 30 minutes in the market open, and you pop back up. Now, if anyone ever like says the word trap, like this is theoretically how a trap looks, right? You break through a massive support or a key level, and then you immediately, you know, get pushed right back in or back, you know, back into said trend, right? That would be an idea of a trap. Only reason why I'm not calling this a trap is because you have massive data coming up on Thursday. So I think pushing myself in a specific direction is idiotic. I'm not going to be jumping or, hitching myself to something that gets stuck into, and I don't know how data is going to come out. But I think this gives you a really good visual of why trading right now is so stupid. You're breaking down in, past a major level, and there is no follow through. Volume today, 65 million, will probably go up to around 70 million, maybe even that, right? A little bit better than yesterday, but it's still piss poor. This is terrible, textbook, terrible volume. Okay, we know this, we understand it. I've just explained why. That's why. Okay, I feel like this should make as much sense as ever and gives me a great visual and standing point to tell you this is so bad. Now, before we go into anything else, I'd ask you to consider doing two things. Liking and subscribing helps out tremendously. I kind of waited a long time to do this, but anyways, hope you do. We appreciate you here on the channel. Appreciate all the love and support. Discord link is down below if you're interested. If you want to get around traders that are like-minded, and I'm going to tell you right now, people still join with this expectation of signals. This is not a signals Discord. Granted, I post what I'm trading, how I'm trading, but there's periods, because I say it all the time here, be patient, stop trading. So again, when you join Discord, if there's periods where I'm not trading, like the past 5 days, give or take, understand, I'm not going to just make up situations and lie to you or whatever it may be. So again, when you join, you're like, oh, where are the signals? Again, I say this every single video. So please go into the mentality of I have to learn. I have to understand what's happening, apply myself. I know, crazy world, crazy, generation we live in where people think things are just handed and given to them and you'll be a millionaire overnight. Crazy world. Now, getting back into it. So that's where we're at. That's our key level focal points of where we're at. Nothing's really changed from yesterday's video. You're all sitting on top of support. ES especially is reacting very well, which is something you wanted to see. Nasdaq needs to respond better. You're getting a little bit of love here, but I need to get back above at least 15.5, 15.55 roughly, but that's where we need to get. Okay, so we have the understanding. Now, looking at flow, looking at the action happening here as well on the action on the day. Really interesting where we're seeing buys coming in. The only thing right here, Apple, and I want to show you this can be a little bit deceiving. You can see premiums coming in, but you need to understand the difference in some of these premiums as well. So a lot of people are buying Tesla. Makes sense where people are buying Tesla at. Right at demand. You touched it again today. Possibly putting in a higher low here. You love to see that. Can we get some continuation and pushing back to the upside? More buyers stepping into the market. That's what you need to see here. You go into something like NVIDIA as well. Right, NVIDIA, you dipped right back into the major level, 440, bounced immediately off said level. We've already talked a lot about the volume and the open interest increasing on NVIDIA, especially going into their next earnings because of what happened in last earnings. But I'm going to tell you right now, NVIDIA still looks great, especially with what they announced today with all the new chips and the whole platform for AI and building on AI as well. They're definitely going balls deep with AI with their company. Definitely worth keeping an eye on. Apple, though. So Apple was perplexing with me when I look at Apple. So Apple, what I will say on the 4-hour chart here, it is a bear flag, 1,000%. This is a textbook bear flag. I agree. Now, I would love to see a retest of previous highs, right? Reaction that basically 183, right? Going back 2 hours, 4 hour, whatever it was. How you respond there. But so far, buyers are kind of showing up at this level. And where is this level? Like, where does this level stem from? I'll tell you where. So if you remember, you can go rewind the tape, go look at the days. So this was Apple's earnings. I believe this was the day they had earnings. I know for a fact it's when they broke all-time highs for the first time here, right? So this is the first time this year when they broke all-time highs right here. They got rejected and pushed down. And everyone was talking about this because they were like, Apple's going to dump. It's going to get crushed. Earnings weren't that good. The Vision Pro's trash. That was like the statement from everyone. But it was interesting. We talked about the 177 level. Remember? Very big. We talked all about it. I said if 177 holds, you will push to all-time highs with ease. You ended up doing so. So fast forward back to where we're at now. Boom. You're hitting that 177 level, bouncing off it. Very interesting to see buyers step up here. You want to hold 179.6. The question is, can you get back to 183? That's kind of where I'm targeting short term. Once we get a reaction from that level, I think a lot will play out. We'll get a lot more information. You kind of do have a demand level, or sorry, a supply level that is forming out up here as well around 186. And that's going to be the big level to watch overall too if you're going to start continuing back into all-time highs. That's kind of down the line as well. Those are the big names I'm looking at. Also to Microsoft, to give you another shout out here. 4-hour demand, you came into it and you're just consolidating here. For those of you that don't believe in supply and demand, I've been mentioning this one for a few days now. Look at the action here on the entire day. You just consolidated in demand. don't know what else to say. Supply and demand truly is a beautiful thing. Now, okay, going into a few more things really quick. Let me bring this up. Trading view, one sec. And I can tell you as well, the market's I think the market is a little bit stuck in the mud as well. So we're seeing DXY from yesterday's video. This is a daily chart, but the 4 hour you can see coming back into that level, bouncing today and pushing back up. You need to see DXY get rejected sooner than later. And I think CPI paints a very big picture for that as well. If you don't know where this level comes from, you can also see it was your previous demand here. You did invalidate and break that, but I still have it up there. You're still respecting and trying to push back. You know, you're still in the descending triangle, but things to be looking forward to right now. Also, to energy, very, very strong day from energy. Again, I'm going to give you my breakdown going into CPI here in a second, so bear with me. But energy is at a very big inflection point. You need this to get rejected, but I don't think it will based on what's happening with OPEC and where they're at right now. So I assume energy is going to continue to go. So if the stock market starts running again, you're going to want to keep your eyes open on names like Exxon, CVX, Oxy. These are all really hot names out there in the market right now, and that could easily start pushing back to the upside. So keep them on your radar. Keep watching very closely. Things about going into CPI. I just want to give you overall thoughts. I know a lot of people have questions about this. Let's talk about it. So the main question is going to be, is energy directly going to affect the CPI, and how do I think this is going to play out? I personally don't believe this CPI will have all the negative effects of what energy has done. I mean, just looking at the chart right now for myself, you know, you're like at from July into early August is when you get a bulk of this move on energy. Okay. So what do we know about CPI? What do we know about energy? What do we know about how the effects of this, you know, take place? We know energy is kind of a lagging indicator, right? So it happens first with the price of oil, then it affects CPI and inflation down the line. Right? We saw that in 2022 a lot. That's how we kind of are trading based on that, right? So that's a big thing we're looking at. We got to also think about the number one benefit to kind of CPI and inflation right now. Rental prices. You know, a lot of the other things that weren't coming down in previous months have started to come down finally. It took a long time. The Fed said it would, but those numbers are actually starting to get affected too. It's not just energy coming down. So these are other areas we need to be taking into account. I would be looking more at stagnated decline on inflation and maybe just flatlining. If it comes out hotter than expected, it will be really bad. You need to understand that. It will be bad, immediate pain on the market if CPI comes in hotter than expected. That is not up for grabs right now. We could not afford that, especially with the downgrade that we've just had from Fitch, Moody's, etc. We had, I think, a downgrade on banks today as well. But I think banks are in a way better position than they were, you know, 4 or 5 months ago. I don't know why. We're like downgrading things after they already like have the worst time ever. Like downgrading the market now after it just rallied back in comparison to where it was a year ago. Like, let's be real. We all know the market was in a worse place last year than it is this year. Just saying. So those are things we need to be considering and looking at. So going into CPI, I'm not all bear yet. If energy continues to do what it's doing and we get back to $90 a barrel, $100 a barrel, you're going to see big bad bear Tyler come back out. I mean, I'm barely back in the office here, right? The option drops office here. I mean, like really, I'm going to be back down in the basement at that point. We'll be back in the basement, in the clink, really putting in the man hours, figuring out the best trades to get, right? Understand that right now. So again, I can only say this so much. I think today validated my logic of be patient, be patient, be patient. But I can never like force anyone to do anything. But again, right now, understand, cash is a great position, right? Waiting for some of this data to come out is an excellent decision, right? Understand that. You don't need to be in 10 trades a day. You don't need to be in 1 trade a day, right? Wait for the best opportunities, right? If you don't believe me, look down below. Someone down in the comments, I promise, is saying, Tyler, you're actually right. Promise. You have one guy, Tyler, he's a perma bull. I'm like, okay, guys, I literally just said that I could become very bearish very quickly if X, Y, and Z happens. So again, that's my visual. Follow down below. And also Twitter Space coming up. I know I forgot about you yesterday. I'm so sorry. It was just like such a boring day. See you tomorrow.